What is going on, New York Giant fans? Welcome back to another video here on the Big Blue in the Bronx YouTube channel. Hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops or a video drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. Share this out. Subscribe to our Patreon. $2.99 a month. We're thinking about putting our scouting reports on there that we're doing for the Senior Bowl, in addition to behind-the-scenes stuff, which we'll be doing in Bama, and a lot of other different things like sports articles. So $2.99 a month. Please definitely hit the subscribe button over there. Hit the subscribe button over here. We're 4 subs away. It's free from the 1,800 mark, and we're looking to get to 2,000 by probably the end of February. But I want to make that a little bit closer so we can embark on our 3,000 subscriber journey. So we talked about Brian Daboll and his temperament as a coach yesterday. Today we're going to talk about whether the New York Football Giants should bring back Xavier McKinney or not. Again, hit the like button and subscribe to all the good stuff. So we're going to go through basically his career as a player, his comments, because obviously there's been comments that he's made, a lot of them, and again, we'll go into that. We'll go into the market, some questions, and would I re-sign Xavier McKinney? So McKinney, he's still young, 24 years old, 6'0", 201 pounds, obviously selected by the Gettleman Judge regime back in 2020. He was the second pick that those guys used. The first one was Andrew Thomas, and then Xavier McKinney in the second round with the 36th pick. So his career to date, didn't play much in his rookie year due to an injury. I think it was either, it wasn't a hand injury. I think it was like a broken foot or something like that. And he had one interception, which was against the Dallas Cowboys, which basically sealed the game against the Cowboys. And then obviously we know what happened in terms of the Giants not making the playoffs, but it was a pretty weird year for the NFC East that year, 2020, under 500. But anyway, he played in 6 games, started 4 of them, 1 pass deflection, 25 tackles, and a tackle for a loss. And in coverage, gave up a completion percentage of 92.3, no touchdowns allowed, but a passer rating of 65.4. So you move into his second year, right? Some expectations on the table. He actually played pretty well. I think it pretty much started against the Rams, I would say in week 6. 5 interceptions, returned for 64 yards and 1 for a touchdown. That was, of course, against the Las Vegas Raiders. Derek Carr being the quarterback at the time, 93 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss. And he really succeeded in this Graham zone system that the Giants ran. I think it was 2 interceptions off the Raiders, 2 interceptions off the Rams, and 1 interception off of the Eagles, which I was at that game. So he played pretty well, and the completion percentage was lower, 67.9, passer rating a little higher at 72.2 in coverage, and 3 touchdowns allowed, but that matches up well against 5 interceptions. So you move to 2022, and by the way, a lot of Giant fans thought he should have made the Pro Bowl. You can have your arguments about that, but that was also almost 3 years ago. So you move forward, right? You go to the system with Wink Martindale. Patrick Graham goes to the Raiders. Joe Judge is fired. And a lot of people expected McKinney to have a little bit more of an impact, especially in the system, right? He's supposed to be down in the box a little bit more, all these different things. And I would say that he barely showed impact at all. Now, there's a lot of things that go into that. Sometimes he would be at the line of scrimmage and, a play wouldn't go his way or whatnot. Definitely had some deep safety opportunities. But he only played 9 games, started all those 9 games, and we know what happened, right? He went on the ATV trip and busted up his hand and would not return till the Colts game. And a lot of people thought, okay, he's done for the season, but the Giants made the playoffs, so that kind of extended the hope that he would return. But he had 45 tackles, 1 quarterback hit, 2 tackles for a loss, and a sack in 2022. And in coverage, total of 1 touchdown allowed, 93.6 passer rating, 52.2 completion percentage, 185 yards allowed. So you move to 2023, and this was the final year of his contract, right? A lot of things going on. And we wanted to see a little bit more of McKinney because, hey, listen, it's contract year, and he needs to have more impact on the field. So I'll start out with this. He played every defensive snap, which is great. That's reliability right there. Availability is the best ability when you start at the bottom, foundation-wise. 3 interceptions, which Came against the Eagles, 2 of them, and then there was another interception mixed in with the last few games. To be honest with you, I can't remember who he got that off of. But he allowed 1 touchdown in coverage, 69.8 passer rating, 63.1 completion percentage, 116 tackles, which is a career high for McKinney. The Giants had a couple of 100-plus tacklers. It was McKinney and Bobby Okereke. I think there may have been another one mixed in there, but I know those two, and those two played every single defensive snap there was for the New York Football Giants, which says a lot about their availability and their character. But you move forward, right, and let's talk about the comments. Xavier McKinney, believe it or not, has a history of speaking out against his coaches. We'll start with number 1. I believe this was during training camp of 2022 that he started speaking out against how he was used in the Graham Judge system, which kind of was confusing because he got 6 interceptions in that system, 1 in his first year and 5 in his second year, which was the final year of Judge and Jason Garrett and Patrick Graham and all these other different guys. So that was kind of odd. Then you move to his ATV incident in 2022, where he was trying to deflect blame and basically blame the media and say, you guys don't have to make this a story, all these other different things. And he was just upset that the media was bringing it up. But at the end of the day, he risked the season, essentially. And you saw how that defense missed Xavier McKinney and a lot of other different guys in the second half when the Giants may not have made the playoffs if it weren't for a few plays, maybe against Washington, all these other different things, right? But he injured his hand on the ATV trip. And again, I'm pretty sure it's in the contract that you can't do that type of stuff. One thing I remember is when Aaron Boone, right, the Yankees' current manager, in 2004, I believe it was January, he was playing pickup basketball, tore his ACL. The Yankees cut his ass. They brought in Alex Rodriguez. That's something they could have done to McKinney, but they decided not to do that. They decided not to take any money away from him. So then we go to 2023 where it kind of blows up a little bit, right? And maybe you could say this had the impact on Wink Martindale leaving the New York Giants. So he said in game 5, so week 5 against the Dolphins, Giants lost 31-16. And then he goes out and says, what we're not going to do is blame the defense. Well, that's not necessarily good timing because, number 1, the defense, it was very inconsistent at that point. First half, gave up so many points to the Cardinals, did a solid job against the Seahawks, against the 49ers. There were a lot of missed tackles. Not to mention, he was asked about missed tackles and said, yeah, that's not the main problem of our defense. Meanwhile, Micah McFadden, he kind of said, yeah, we got to fix that up. Took a little bit of a leadership and accountability standpoint there is where McKinney kind of deflected it off. But that was not a good comment. It's like, dude, you guys gave up over 600 yards to the Miami Dolphins. We get it. They're a good offense. But at the same time, doesn't make you in your own right to give up 600 yards to the Miami Dolphins. So then, against Dallas, the second time, a little bit after the game, there was reports about him kind of blaming Wink and going out there and blasting him for coverage discrepancies. His, I would say, misgivings about some of the coverages he was throwing at him. And then Wink Martindale came out to the media, and he said basically that, he had a talk with McKinney, and he only gave him one coverage that he had a problem with. So Wink kind of blasted him to the media, which Brian Dable did not take kindly to, and Wink Martindale also basically hinted that if it was his decision, he likely would have been benched. But Brian Dable opted not to, and then he played the rest of the season and happily ever after. Not really in Wink's case, but he also apparently stated behind the scenes, according to, I think it was Pat Traina who said this, that he would not come back if Wink Martindale was the defensive coordinator. So that's big. That's big. But right now, there's a lot of questions still out there. And let's look at the market, shall we? Before we go to the questions. So the highest paid safety right now is about $19 million. That's Derwin James. Then you go to Minka Fitzpatrick at 18, 17 Jamal Adams, 16 Jesse Bates, 16 Harrison Smith, 15 Justin Simmons, $14 million Buda Baker, $14 million for Eddie Jackson, $14 million for Marcus Williams, $13 million for Quandre Diggs, $12 million for Jalen Thompson, Kevin Byard, Grant Delpit, and $10 million for Justin Reed. And also $10 million for Amani Hooker and $9 million for Micah Hyde. So here's my thing, right? Obviously, if you look at the first 2 years of Xavier McKinney, and I'm not even talking about usage, right? Maybe you could factor that in. But the first 2 years of Xavier McKinney, you would sign him up to be, okay, he's one of the best safeties in the league. You pay him over the franchise tag, which is projected, I think, to be at around $14 million. Then you go out there and look at the next 2 years, and you're like, I don't know. He really didn't have much impact on the field until the latter weeks of 2023. That's what throws in a lot of questions. So let's go to those questions. Will he get back to his ball hawk self in a new system? Let's talk about the other question first, which relates to this question. Will he play well in a new system? We don't know who the defensive coordinator is going to be. We don't know if he's going to run a man system or a zone system. We don't know how he's going to be used. Probably as a deep safety, but we could all just project and sit here and predict, and then we could be wrong. We could be right too. But it could likely be a zone system based off of the guys that the Giants are bringing in. And if it's Jerome Henderson, he knows McKinney best, so he's probably going to do some different things and style up his defense a little differently than Wink Martindale, maybe similar to Patrick Graham. To be honest, I'm not completely sure. But, one of the questions also relating, as I mentioned earlier, will he get back to his ball hawk self in a new system? Will he live up to the deal? You got 2 years of good, 1 year of inconsistent, really not inconsistent, more of like he didn't play the first few games due to a foot injury, and then 2022 to where like he didn't have much of an impact, more as a safety and blitzing, but not on the stat sheet, to where most of the time it does count. And the final question I ask is this: is safety a premium position? Is it like edge rusher? Is it like wide receiver? Is it like quarterback? Is it like offensive line? It's kind of in that running back tier. Now, I'm not saying running backs and safeties don't matter. I'm not saying that. But should you be paying premium money to a position like safety? I don't know. I don't know if it seems smart, especially with McKinney having 2 good years and some inconsistencies in his career. So, let's go to the verdict. Would I sign Xavier McKinney to a long-term deal? I would. For what price? $14 million or under. I don't know what McKinney's camp wants. I know that they wanted to move, meaning Joe Shane and crew, they wanted it to move contract negotiations till after the season. Okay. McKinney, obviously, during the season, I guess, took a lot of frustrations out on the coaching staff because of usage and the contract situation itself, because he wanted to be locked down, he wanted to be paid. But to me, he hasn't shown enough consistency in his career to where you could say, I'm going to go ahead and pay this amount of money to this safety who's been inconsistent at a non-premium position. Again, wide receiver, tight end, not really premium. O-line, some of these other positions, quarterback, defensive end, those are premium positions. You could get a lot of safeties in the late rounds, right? The mid rounds, the first round, the second round. Not that the Giants should draft one in the first round. We know how I feel about that. But like second, third, fourth round, the Giants have Dane Melton and Jason Pinnock. Now, if they were to, say, kick rocks Xavier McKinney, then you'd probably have to bring in another safety because you don't know what Javarius Owens is. You played him in 1 to 2 games last year. But you probably would need to bring in another body. But Pinnock, I mean, he could play in the box, and Belton could cover center field. So, again, it depends on how the new coordinator wants to scheme everything up. But me personally, I would re-sign McKinney, but nothing over $14 million because the inconsistencies, a lot of these other things, possibly the complaints. What if he is a couple weeks into the season, complains about the defensive system in the media again? You really don't want to be stuck with that headache. So nothing over $14 million. I'll go to the 14.5 mark, but nothing over that. Would you guys re-sign Xavier McKinney? What price is the highest that you would pay for Xavier McKinney? Do you not want him back? Give me your thoughts in the comments section. Remember, folks, we are 4 subscribers away from the 1,800 mark. Then we could embark on 1,900 and eventually 2,000. Like, comment, subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops to your drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. Peace out, guys. See you later. Stay cool.